When the Messiah was being born at a second-rate community hospital outside of Buffalo, New York, the evangelicals erected flashing signs with arrows pointing the way, while angels sang overhead in the beams of spinning spotlights borrowed from a used car lot. Maria had found herself unexpectedly pregnant one day, soon after her engagement to her future husband Joe. It was quite a surprise considering that she was still a virgin. Joe accused her of having an affair with Larry, who had been chasing after her for several years, but Maria considered him crude and embarrassing and rejected all of his advances. She finally convinced Joe of her faithfulness but was at a loss to explain the pregnancy. She did remember this weird dream she had one night about a dove wrapping its wings around her and talking naughty into her ear. That was back around Easter. She didn't remember what the dove said, but she was shocked and embarrassed when she awoke. During the birth, sweet fragrances of roses and lilacs and honeysuckle and jasmine pervaded the room. From the divinely chosen vagina proceeded beams of heavenly light through which the child emerged. An attending angel called out, "Bring forth the platter," and an entourage of seraphim descended from the sky bringing a golden platter and pure white linen upon which the child was delivered. The baby emerged, its hands folded in prayer, his eyes cast down in contemplation of his perfect deity. The birth was attended by a poet, a priest, and a politician. The politician took the opportunity to be photographed with the Divine Mother. The next day, the photograph was emblazoned across every major paper, with headlines like, "Politician brings new word into the world," "God's country graced with new Messiah," and "Newest divine baby born." The poet commemorated the event with such lines as, "Here comes forth on this day a new wonder without parallel, the joy of all mankind, and a wonder to behold," and other such doggerel. The priest simply fainted from joy. Adoption offers rolled in from all around the world, offering to raise the child in comfortable homes that Maria and Joe couldn't afford, being poor. Pious families that would give the child a proper religious training and distract from the fact that the child was technically illegitimate, since Maria and Joe were in fact not yet married. Even megachurches, Jehovah's Witnesses, and the Mormons in Salt Lake City all competed for Maria and Joe's attention to take on the burden of the child and raise him to fulfill the apocalyptic expectations of their respective faiths. With all the fanfare and excitement outside the little community hospital, the board of directors used this miraculous birth as an opportunity for fundraising, allowing the new family to stay in the hospital with free accommodations until the board could arrange an international press conference and hit up some big donors. Following the birth, the new mother was allowed to rest and bond with her new baby. Inside the hospital, water turned into wine and flowed out of faucets and shower heads, at first frightening the nurses who thought it might be blood until one tasted it and realized it was a really nice Bordeaux. The hospital had to bring in outside drinking water so patients wouldn't get drunk. One morning, the halls were overrun with bleating lambs and bunny rabbits with fluffy tails rushing into the nursery to kiss and lick the new baby. The baby giggled and cooed under the warm lips of the lambs and the soft bunny tongues and blessed the animals before the security guards could shoo them away. Other miracles happened. Cancer patients went into remission, crippled children began to walk on their own, and ghostly spirits of the dead that hung around the place sought release from their wanderings and disappeared through light radiating apertures in the walls into their afterlife. The nurses became fixated on the baby's poop schedule. They soon realized how considerate the new baby was for his mother, only pooping moments before she changed the diaper. If mom slept too long between diaper changes, the baby would discreetly hold his poop until she was ready. The nurses were diligent in disposing of the soiled diapers and divided the poop up in back rooms for their own personal use. By the end of the first week, there was already over 200 pounds of magic baby poop sold on eBay, with many customers complaining that it smelled bad and was making people who ate it sick. When the day of the press conference arrived, The little auditorium was crammed full of cameras and reporters. The divine family sat at the front of the room, like a tableau or an image from an icon. The baby lay in his mother's arms, glowing with light, while subtle beams radiated from his eyes, casting circles of white light on the ceiling, which appeared and disappeared as the baby opened and closed his eyes. Tiny angels flew in circles over the baby's head, forming a golden halo. Another angel held a golden platter behind the mother's head. When the questions began, the first thing the reporters wanted to know was, "What is the new baby's name?" Maria proudly announced that they decided to name him Josh. A murmuring stirred through the crowd, with lots of head nodding and general agreement that Josh was a good name. Some of the female reporters were curious about how the delivery went. Was it painful? Maria answered shyly, while blushing. It was pretty easy, actually rather pleasurable, she said, putting her hand over her mouth in embarrassment. I think I might have had a few orgasms. How did you know you were pregnant? Since you never had sex before? Well, I had this strange dream about a giant dove coming and talking dirty to me, while we floated on a white cloud surrounded by olive trees, Maria told them. And after my period stopped, I went and peed on a pregnancy stick and it turned blue. One of the male reporters, trying to bolster his masculinity in the manly presence of Joe, asked, "How will he protect the child from those who might want to do the baby harm? You know, those atheist and crazy cult people?" Joe said his brothers and cousins would help him with their shotguns and rifles. Simon, Andy, and James were already waiting outside in case there was any trouble. John, Phil, and Matt were getting their home ready. His brother Thomas, who complained a lot, was, unfortunately, unreliable. A reporter from the National Enquirer, who was investigating the baby poop scandal, wanted to know if the eBay poop was real. Maria said the nurses take care of that, but she didn't really think it was her baby's poop. After all, 200 pounds of poop is a lot for one little baby to make in just a week, and besides, her baby's poop doesn't stink. It actually smells like roses and lilacs.